and my stuff crashed right then and there, as I knew it would. I knew it would. I just somehow was expecting it to. As soon as it was just to be expected. All too well. So, sorry about that. I ended up just crashing completely during that, and I was just trying to get to the spot where you'd actually be able to learn all of the special recipes and things you'd need for throughout the game. I just got to it, and I was like, what the heck? I crashed completely. Right then, right there, and I knew it was going to. I don't know why it crashed. I just know it does. It tends to, like I said, 9 to 1. That happens a lot. And I kind of want to display that in this video this time. I mean, I got through most of the general gist of everything in the last episode just a moment ago before it crashed. But I want to cover everything to make sure everything is seen, well known. I have no idea what it's doing. So yeah, hang on. We will try to get this situated and get out of here as quick as possible to avoid any further issues. I just hope that I can. I should have no more trouble, but we know how well should be can go. So that's useless orb in the middle. It just kind of sits there staring at you. This is the guy who will help you with all of your starship needs. He allows you to research for a certain amount of nanite clusters. You can buy all of these recipes from him. It'll help you get through the game a lot faster. You will use your salvage data pods that you collect while you're traveling to get these kinds of recipes and things open. The base game usually allows you to get the save beacon stuff rather quickly beforehand, but everything else is you take the time to basically get it yourself kind of deal. I have done all of the deep sea stuff already, so I have almost everything involved with them unlocked. There are just some of these which are extra decorative stuff. It's not really worth a whole heck of a lot. This, however, is very valuable. This weapon rack is a very worthwhile tech to grab. I'm not quite sure what these are supposed to be about. It just kind of looks like extra decorative stuff. This stuff really is kind of the same way. But because I have most, if not all, of the actual technologies, I already basically have the majority of what I need to use for the game. These, on the other hand, are a lifesaver. You get the electric wiring to get all these different material grabbers. That allows you to extract like materials like chromatic metal and stuff from the ground. This allows you to get like gas substances like the sulfur and all that out of the air. These power generators will help power your base. Oh, it's so easy to get through the game with those. This is just so you don't see all the electric wiring everywhere. The electric camouflage. This is the kind of stuff you will unlock with the base farmer right here. All these plant life, different recipes and things. You can unlock them from here. This is just another alternative method to it. So many ways to do the same exact thing on both fronts. This guy is for your exosuit. This is an exosuit upgrade station, which for some reason I can't access. But as you can see, I've practically already got all of the stuff from him that I need, and some of the stuff I don't need. This is your weapons terminal. You will almost always have a weapon in this thing unless you or someone else gets it. You can compare it with your current one. Usually, if it is better, I will swap out the one I have and vice versa, but it's not worth my time. He is also the guy you talk to for the recipes for your guns and things, your tools. This is what you need to actually find the different materials on planets, like the electromagnetic generator spots, and or the like gas pockets and things. These are for your like really hard to get materials. For example, condensed carbon shows up in giant red crystals, which you would need these 2 items for. They also have a decent fishing, expedition they had. It was really kind of fun and relaxing. This helps you to hide from your enemies. You get the basic general gist of most of these. These are just guns and things you can shoot at enemies with. And last, but certainly not least, is this gentleman here. He helps you get the upgrades for your exocraft just as much as your own exocraft operator will do. He is what you have to get through to start doing those missions. These are where an additional place where you can learn the recipes for certain items. These items are almost a practical must for me. I have to have the Atlas passes to get the really high-end expensive stuff really quickly. This is a very useful but expensive way to hyperdrive your stuff around. You can always use this recipe. It'll do the same thing for twice as less. These are the items you will need to also fix up 9 out of 10 things that you have with you. Your tools, your ship, etc. These are the expensive extras that you can get. The acid makes all of these top materials. These top materials continue to break down as you go. You get the idea. They make these, which are very valuable. Synthesis and the fusion igniter, that's an easy way of making a ton of money quickly. And that should about do it for the space anomaly. Up here is the 2 people you'll have during your story missions. He gives you coordinates and things for like the Atlas station, black holes, and so on and so forth. And occasionally the missions will often continue to just re-loop themselves on occasion. He will oftentimes tell you where black holes are. He will tell you, for example, the Atlas station coordinates, black holes. There is a portal up here you can use to travel practically anywhere you've been or wherever your friends might be. For example, if you are in a group, for example, my other friend Tim usually hops on and plays with me. When we are in a group together, it usually says when I hop in my ship if I want to return to the galaxy I was in, or if I want to jump to where Tim, my friend Gamescare, is usually. And whether or not, if I wanted to or not, I jump there. Now, with all that covered, it's time to reach for the regular space station, which almost every galaxy, 9 out of 10 of them, have a space station, unless they're completely abandoned. Sorry, my throat's a little hot and dry right now. I've been talking and covering a lot of things, so if it sounds a little rusty or hard, just that's why. So here on the space station, we have one of 24 things to cover. First, this is not always what these looked like once upon a time. because once upon a time, all this was spread out on the two sides of the area. It used to be depicted all the way over on that side, and on this side stretched out more. But with all the updates and changes they did, they fixed all of these as much as they could find. This is where you would buy special charts and things, different like tech pads. This is where you get the charts to find and help yourself to, what you want to call it, settlements, artifacts, planetary anomalies like portals and monoliths. This is the one for like inhabited outposts, like trade businesses and things. You can get these for planetary charts for the crashed ships and things that you can usually pick up for nothing. And you can get these for like the other way of learning those recipes, which is to steal them from the Sentinel businesses and things. You would blow through their doors, steal their stuff, etc., etc. And upgrade your suits. Planetary for settlement charts, etc. That's just all that one character does, is sell and buy maps, pretty much. You got your standard shop trade portal, and another portal. Some of this stuff is valuable just for the sake of having it, because you're bound to use it no matter what you do. Sometimes you'll get lucky, you can buy all these and travel to another area and sell it off for more than what you spent. Just as an FYI, an additional way of making money. You have your missions trader who will give you special tasks and missions. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not worth it. Oh, I'm definitely doing that, because that is definitely worthwhile. That is one walker brain I will not have to go after. I'm also doing this for the freighter module. I will deal with those momentarily. This is your guild master, pretty much in the area. Almost all space stations have one of them. You will come up, depending on your rank with a certain guild, you will be able to first donate items to build up your status with them, and then you will redeem for special items depending on where you go, etc., etc. And then you have your basics of your merchants. This is your Exocraft merchant. He's like the one that you buy all the upgrades from too. This is your starship merchant, who gives you all the upgrades for your starship as well. You buy upgrade modules from them. You can also build your own special types of starships if you get the right stuff. For example, one of my ships that I have is a S-Class that I built from scratch. If you do happen to go and fight for the pirates, and you get the forged passports, you can bring them up here to this guy, and he will restore your status with the normal people, quote-unquote. Or if you get a station override code, you can take over the station, practically. But I am still trying to figure out where you get those from, because I haven't seen one of them since that was first introduced. This is your weapons modifier guy. This is your exosuit guy here on the space station. Every station will have one. Yeah, because once upon a time over here was your standard area where they used to be lodged in little rooms. Hard to access. There used to be a door here. You could scoot in there for 2 to 3 different terminals for extra supplies and things. Yeah, I've seen it all since the day one. This is where you'd upgrade and fix your ship or dismantle it for extra parts. Upgrade. Oh, I have an augmentation to apply. Cool. As you can see, I just upgraded the space of my ship. This is where you would construct a ship if you wanted to, depending on the type. You have your hauler, your freighter, your explorer. The solar ships are some of my favorite types. You have a fighter type. I often ride with one of each of them just for the sake of having them for a different job. This is your standard type of character modifier. And these are recently new. This guy has been around for practically since about, I want to say, beta phase of the game. You can buy and sell different things to him, acquire coordinates like the derelict freighter areas from him, buy and sell old stuff to him, get suspicious packets of different things, decals and things, special modifiers. He's like your black market, of course. The things that most people don't have, he probably has. Typically, kind of deal. Just as a comment. This is relatively new. This is what's called the Bone Collector. You would trade him a special type of bone for a bone that you can display, la-di-da. It's all here practically. It's self-explanatory. You would select something you want to trade for, select out of the bones or whatever you have that they'll accept, and you'd have a chance of actually getting that particular item. Or you can use them as another merchant and just sell shit to them like this. That's just one of many other options you can do. And that technically about covers all there is to really say about the basic stations and things. Except this is oftentimes where your best chances of getting an S-Class are, because you can fly up here as long as you have a proper amount of units and you look at a ship that's better than your own. You walk up to the pilots, you can literally trade items with them first. When you have a freighter, you can actually recruit them to your squadron, which will help you fight in a pinch if you need. Or you can trade for their ship, which might be better than yours. Just as an extra idea. That's how I ended up going from a C-class starship to an S-class starship. But usually the S-classes you gotta find in like those really, really stressful reds or blue star systems usually. Or you could wait like almost a whole 5 hours on a space station just looking for one S-class. It's ridiculous. It really is. That's why I tend to go and try to find them in the worst places possible. Now we get to have the fun with the newest kind of update. We get to summon our special homemade starship. Since I've already started my work on fixing this one, this is pretty much my current frigate, freighter, small freighter, I guess would be the way to put it. You just basically scour around, see all the different individual parts you take apart. You can build stuff inside them, but every time you take the thing apart and rebuild it, you have to rebuild everything inside too. That's probably the only downside of it all. That's why I try to put it together so that I don't have to take it apart more than once. But yeah, each of these parts is interchangeable. That's actually the best head you can get. That's called the Ambassador's cockpit right there. And then there's the extra opening, the access point, the shield generators, the thrusters, the extra little rooms. Let me tell you, these are the worst to try and get. And I've managed to get several of them. I'm still trying to get one more to complete the ensemble. Those are the second form of landing pad. When you start building, this is called a Corvette, by the way, I forgot to mention that. When you start building this from scratch, you are given one of these. Just one. And I think you're given like one basic little like hull point like this thing. this one here above us that's glowing in blue. You get one of those, one entryway, I think a small amount of thrusters and shields, just the basics to get you started. And you have to work your way up through the expedition is probably the best way to show and explain it. But the expedition is long overdone, and there's no real way of doing it again because I finished it. But this is just showing you all of the little individual cue points and things that you can do to one of these. There's guns out the rear, there's bullets out the rear, etc., etc. I have to move that because it didn't work the last time I was trying to use that. I'm gonna add a couple extra guns just to be on the safe side. As you can see, this is what you get, the recipe you get towards the end of the expedition. And it's a recipe where you can get practically any amount of gun you want, just as long as you have the right amount of materials to build that gun. Each time you add something new or change something out, you get the chance of basically upgrading your stuff. You can also create a brand new one from scratch. You can purchase the basic modules, typically, or if you're lucky enough to try and trade for some of them, like I have been, you can use some of the spare parts that you have to trade for better ones. For example, you can trade for the ambassador stuff if you're lucky. You can trade for the landing gear, the thrusters, all that. But usually if you're trying to trade, you have to have something valuable to trade for in return. Because very rarely you will get anything on less than 15. I have been, on occasion, fortunate enough to do so. But it's really rather difficult. And as you can see from buying it, it's still just as expensive. It's best just to get the standard stuff, start working your way up, build from there, go to the next step, and the step after that, and so on. I gotta see what I can get one of those and use it. Let's see if I can't trade for what I'm looking for now. Yes, I have been... No, I only got the one. Damn it. Yeah, that's the difficult thing about knowing what you buy and what you don't buy is... Sometimes, if you buy the wrong thing, you won't be able to trade for it. And if you trade for something, you can't really use it and then try to trade it off again later. It's hit or miss. Some of the things you can, some of the things you can't. It's really rather finicky that way. I say. For example, I forget. I don't think these are tradable, but they might be. No, these decorative ones are. I'll try to use as many parts as I can, just to try and see if I can't trade for it quick. Because if I can get that, it'll be one step more off my to-do list, and while I'm trying to show everything basic. No, I can't. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is also where you can store extra parts too. It typically is just best to store your parts you're not using in there. It's really rather dumb, but in some cases it helps you a little. Because some of the parts that you get, you have to put in there anyway, just for the sake of doing it. I don't really understand half of it, why it does that, because as you can see, I have the other parts, it just won't let me trade those other parts. And in some cases, having the right part, but not having at least the thing about it to trade for, kind of makes that a little harder to deal with. And I don't know whether it's just because we bought those parts that it doesn't want us to trade them or what have you. I don't really understand why it won't do that, but it's just one of them things. Sometimes you get away with it, sometimes you don't. I have been able to get at least one trade with less than 15%. One. And that was during the expedition, just to try and, you know, get it, but it wasn't even expected to happen, but it does occur. And as you can see, some of those parts on there were actually really sought after and were the ones we purchased as well. So if we had traded both of them, put both of them in there, we would have gotten this module no problem. Because that's 62% for just that one, which is kind of foolish in my opinion, to do. But chances of getting it to work otherwise, slim to none. 62 for both. Certain items you'll get a better chance for certain things. Some things you won't get the chance for at all. Sometimes you have to lose in order to get something here and there. And the funny thing is, anytime I've tried to trade for these two, I've been able to get them, but I've also not been able to retrade them. It's extremely strange sometimes to know exactly what's gonna go, what isn't gonna go. Sometimes you'll get lucky and these will be worth a lot, sometimes they won't be worth a damn, etc, etc. 15. Still no. Most of the time you will find that some of this stuff people don't even want to look at afterward. And so they'll just take it, throw it in here, and try to trade it for what they can. I don't even use those bolt joints all that much, so it's not worth anything. These are just some of the many different things you can do. And yes, you can find some of these parts while out and about digging around on specific planets, but it's like 1 in a million chance. Oh, if that's that good, let's see what one will do. I could get one of those for one of them. Now that I have that, let's try to go back for the other item. Because each item is worth something different to each an individual thing. Yeah, no, that's not enough. That's even less than last time. Cargo link for that. That's 4. So yeah, that's not gonna work there. And sometimes you gotta just keep what you get, sometimes you can retrade it later, sometimes you won't get anything at all. It's very hit or miss. But it's like the only real definitive way of knowing what you're attempting to get. And that's just if you're lucky enough to get anything at all. And that's, like I said, hit or miss. I very rarely ever see it go above 50% or anything. Rarely. And the strangest things I've seen it go up past it for have honestly been surprising already. I mean, because literally, you can't really get much anything with any of what we have. Cargo capsule. What's this? Is this any better than the cargo link? Probably not, but 17, that's not bad. What if I put this in there with it? Let's see. Yeah, no. I saw that one coming a mile away. Let's try this because it's on the lowest. I've noticed one other thing too. The things that are way on the low end of the totem pole will be further down in the list. I have noticed that myself. So everything that's like down here isn't going to be worth anything at the top of the list. As you can see, the bolted joints are at the very bottom part of this list. Now, we already had 2 of them, so... Funny thing is, sometimes you'll get lucky and be able to trade the lesser valued stuff for the stuff that's higher on the list. Like, for example, the one we just traded for, the cargo link here, is even more valuable than the one we had earlier. The thing we had earlier. And sometimes you'll have that happen where it won't even want to trade you for poor quality stuff. For example, watch, let's see, what do we get for this? 11. What do we get when we add this with it? Poor, 27%. Not taking it. The radar dome is not worth trying to trade for because you can't really use it or anything. It just wastes time. Even when you have better odds, 9 out of 10 times that's what you'll end up getting. Is even when you have the best odds, it can still decline it for whatever reason. And that's just the way it is sometimes. Because now we have 1 less item. But the item we do have is not bad. Let's see if we can't trade it up a little bit higher for what we got. Nope. Okay, that's definitely not gonna work. Yeah, as you can see, it ain't gonna go very well. This is just some of the many things you can do. Well, let's see if I can't try to trade these with everything else. Again. Probably not, like I did earlier, but you never know. Nope. Okay. Yeah, that's just some of the difficulties one has. That's probably the only thing worth hanging on to at all that though. Not like it really matters anyway. But this is just some of the many ways you can manage to make yourself, you know, a little bit easier at times. Because this ship is actually kind of more my favorite one out of all of them now. Because not only can you build additional plant life on it, but apparently eventually you can get your own crew set up on it. You can have a cooking area, which is what that is. All the same storage units as your freighter. Multiple floors, And then you can also have any sort of sellable plant-like material above us. That's a medical unit for your crew. Your own mission radar. All of which is really cool, by the way. Refining unit. And so on. And whilst you're in space, you can walk around. You don't have to stay sitting in the cockpit the whole time. And just to show you what I mean, hang on a minute. Walk around the hole. I am going to go fight a pirate with my ship. Just because I want to do so. Yes, it's very hard to turn this thing when you're off in space at first. It's probably like the only downside though, is it's a little hard to maneuver at first. Once you start getting, whoa. Yeah, as you can see, my laser is probably the strongest item I have on my ship right now for this one. Hold still, will you? Bye! And the funny thing is, during the expedition, you could actually, one of the tasks was to have your friends sit in the side of the ship with you while you were flying it around. That was part of those missions. Okay, where the hell is the ship? Why aren't you locking onto it? It's having some trouble with locking onto the target. It shouldn't, but it does. Apparently. Why? I have no idea. And it looks like the guns are having some trouble too. There it goes. Kind of starting to work. And your allies will sometimes fly in front of you, so you gotta be kind of careful about that. But whoa, we're having an audio break right there. Yeah, until they optimize and fix this stuff again, there might be a chance of the audio having a lot of trouble. It's still kind of in the working for some of this to get fixed up again. That's just how it is for all of them. And because that looks to be a wrap, almost. Oh, so close to an instant shot on that one. That one's done. That leaves 2 ships left, and I don't know why it's trying to aim the wrong direction. It's also not as good as trying to aim it yourself, because it's just more relaxing to try and aim, at least in my opinion. Sometimes you got to, especially when you start hitting one of them. Sometimes it'll just aim that slight little bit off. And sometimes it won't even hit the target. Trying to hit the target, not ramble around it. I always find it easier just to sit still and let them come try and hit me. Especially when your guns are as strong as mine. And that's that one done. And that's just the custom ships, mind you. The normal standard ships have a large variety as well. Gotta go back on the other side. Might be a tight. There we go. And that is just one of the many features this new type of ship has offered. That is not to say it's like the others. One of those things isn't like the others, and I'll show you why. Because that one, you can walk around in while in space. The other ones, you can't. However, I will show off one of the other favorite types of ships out there. It's called the living ship. This is what you would require the void egg to try and make. However, this is one I got from one of the expeditions. It's called the Wrath, or the Wraith, however you want to say it. It is really unique. This is what it looks like inside. And it's one of those things you just gotta know what each thing is. This is what you would have for running the ship itself. This is, I forget, I think this is the shield. This is your, what you want to call it? Frick, what is it? What? Trying to think what they are. It's hard enough trying to figure it out. It's supposed to be, I think, your warp drive, to be honest, if I had to say. And then you have ships like this one. This isn't really, you know, one of the ones I have, per se, but I could buy it if I wanted. It's a C-class. It's like the hauler ships, or an explorer ship, XYZ. And the reason I swapped out is because the custom ships are harder to fly around with on planets. We also have Sentinel ships. Which are really one of the more expensive style of ships. It's like, forget, like almost $31 million or million units in value. Which you have, these are your launch thrusters, the anti-gravity wall. This is your pulse engine. This is your, what you want to call it, hyperdrive. This is your shield. The shield is pretty much what keeps me, allowing me to sit there in space and shoot pirates all day long. The stronger the shield, the less I have to really do. Each of these has its own unique item. All of the extra stuff you just seen on the major, like, buildable, customizable frigate there, the bigger ship that we had a minute ago, that's all this stuff is the same thing. But it's just built in there by hand. The torpedo launcher on the other thing is the rocket launcher on here. The distilla cannon is one of the types of guns. This is another type of gun. This is a scanner just like this, and these are just the stuff that allows you to move things around easy, painless. But most of the time, these are a lot more steps in order to get one of these. You have to get what's called an AI scanner core, and then it'll lead you to a planet. The planet will have all the sentinels on it. It'll have all sorts of different materials you'll require to fix. You'll have to find the brain, take the brain to a monolith on the planet. The planet monolith will then make it so that you can use the brain to access the ship, and vice versa. A lot of steps. Lots of steps. Just some of the many different things you could do. However, there are a difference between the living ship and these ships. The living ships require special additions. You can't just throw these ones in there. I've tried, believe you me. If I could throw a cadmium or an idmium drive at a living ship, I would have. However, in the living ship, you can put one of these items in. It's called a trail, Starship Trail. It does work the same way. And occasionally you might get a figurine like this that you can do. It's just another decorative object. It's really rather dumb. But every customizable thing is different for each person, I'd say. As you can see, those smaller items allow for us to make a bigger object for our starship. And in which case our starship demands us to make a warp cell to fix this item into it. A warp cell is what we need to actually use our warp drives anyway. So, I mean, it's understandable. There are some items you get to build that make absolutely no sense whatsoever to try and make. I forget what was a good example of that. Oh, when trying to fix the conflict scanner, you need a walker brain, which is a giant sentinel drone that destroys pretty much your entire stuff by the time you actually kill it. It's really rather annoying. That's why I have no problem going and doing a fishing thing for a walker brain, because, to be fair, that is probably the easiest task I can possibly do. And other than that, I mean, that's, I think, almost everything in the entire game that needs to be discussed, except for the underwater scenario and flying around through space. I can do those really quickly, though. And I'm gonna attempt to finish this mission while trying to show off the different items for the underwater category, I guess, too. Oh, this is a good planet to do this on, too. So, This is what's known as a sentinel planet we are heading to. It's called a dissidence detected planet. The planet itself is usually overrun by the sentinels. It's got a lot of the stuff required to get a sentinel ship on it. We might even come across one in our travels. This also has scrap salvageables on there, which allows us to possibly get stuff for our Corvette, and also the salvage data mods on it as well. A lot of things for the same planet to have. So if the sentinels are here, this is a very unassuming sentinel planet. There are some of the planets. Holy crap, I actually found a 1 in a million chance. This unknown grave. This is what's called a traveler grave. Every time a traveler dies, they leave this marker behind. Your character does too when they die, but they all come with a glyph, except for your own. Traveler graves often give you a portal glyph or a special unique item like that memory fragment, because we already have all the glyphs. It gives us a memory fragment, which tends to give us a module, but that module is something we really don't need. It's really rather redundant to have such a cheap thing, but it is 1 in a million chance to actually land on one of those. Near, almost unheard of to do that. Oh well, I get to show off the scanner module. That's all it is. Scan the animals. That's all it is. That's all the scanner does, pretty much. It does actually pay for itself in the long run, as you can see. Without the modules I have equipped, it would be like 2,000 per animal and like 10 per plant. So, I mean, it is kind of worth it to upgrade it in the long run. There is some of the chances of getting salvaged equipment. There's actually one up there I can go and grab. Now, these are going to be a common problem all the time. These are called hazardous plants. They give you oxygen. The hazardous plants are often really damaging to your character at first. And it's just safe to shoot them from a distance. The oxygen that they give you is also unique and very useful, because they tend to give you more than the standard plants do. Yes, there are standard oxygen plants on each planet, but, like I said, it's hit or miss on how much it gives you. I don't even need to go underground for that one, which is a good thing. The reason we want the oxygen is so we can build our little submarine platform. Yes, I said submarine platform. In order to build it, we need a specific amount. The more you upgrade your stuff, the better you will be. Oh yes, that's another good point. That item right there, that is an oxygen harvestable plant underwater for your character to be able to continue to breathe. I technically won't need it as much because I have a lot of upgrades to my equipment already. These items are particularly more sought after to be viewed because these items aren't commonly run into. People don't usually use the underwater feature. That is a very good container to go after, just as an example of what we could use. However, let's get the other part done. Oxygen platform. Ah. I don't know why it's dancing like that. It never usually does that. That's a first. It's actually probably the first time I've actually spawned this since the expedition, so I can't say I blame it. But yes, this is a reusable platform every time. And I like it, because this is our submarine. There's a standard submarine platform, and then there's this platform. This is the transferable one, the one that moves with you, that you can always build with you. And the funny thing, once you have your submarine, you can always go boop. Problem solved. Now let's try to finish our uncommon fishing task. I need to just catch 3 uncommon fish. Uncommons are usually blue. They're like usually B-class or blue type fish. Each fish comes with its own classification as well, C through S. That is a regular one. That's a C-class. Common. That's a C-class. Sometimes it takes a little bit, sometimes it takes extra materials. You never know what you're going to get from these, though. Sometimes it'll count the legendaries for uncommons because they are practically uncommon. They're more uncommon than uncommon, if you know what that means. That's a corrupted sentinel, by the way. It had to make its debut. You can also use bait to attract the rarer types of fish, but I always find that it only gives me C's. There's a B-class. That's an uncommon. I usually have the best luck when I don't use any bait at all. There's another B-class, so that's 2. This is what one of the many expeditions was really all about at one point. Was just fishing. You had to fish on all sorts of different planets, all sorts of different conditions. It was fucking hilarious. And it was foolish at the same time. You had to find messages in a bottle. It was hilarious. That part was hilarious. Oh, let's see, what can we get for a third and final unique fish? What will we get? What will we get? And when? Not that. Yeah, it's like one every like 4 or 5 fish that you get an uncommon typically. There it is. Starfish. Now I'm gonna go get that item over there and see what exactly we get from that. Yeah, I hit the ground a little hard from a little too high. That's all right. We got a couple decorative pieces, which is some of the many things you can get from those. Now we'll grab this technology buried module and show you those, just so you can have a general idea. There's another technical glitch. Flashlight is gone and turned multicolor. That is not normal. That is a graphics error. And that tends to happen. Which is why I tend to leave that off. Sad I tend to leave it off. And then there's all sorts of just traveling across the planet. I might as well show you what the analyst visor does. This is a electrical hotspot. It's the only places you can get the certain type of electromagnetic generator to function proper. And I always like to take over a base spot on a planet where there is one, because it's less expensive to build on. This is a base computer, which allows you to do special missions after a little while of playing the game. It'll give you this like little notification which you're seeing on screen. Base archives. You might get certain blueprints from it. You might get coordinates. Since I've already got most of the blueprints, it's going to give me coordinates to follow. And it just gives me a little extra few things. And I'm just sick of seeing that, so I'm just going to do it anyway. But the reason I like to take over spots with electromagnetic power is so I can do... Hang on a minute. Just this. Now, I don't have to worry about power again, until I have to expand the base. This is why I like these spots. Well, that one's not connected. There you go. There you are. That keeps me from having to sit there and build the, what you want to call it, other types of power supply there. These solar panels, because these are the second best. These are your basic type of powering, which is just biofuel. You have to constantly feed it resources. This is where all the energy is stored. I tend to do 3 of them at once, just so that there's enough stored energy so I don't have to do anything. Build a landing pad for the starship. Build a health unit just for the sake of it. I could build that later, but I don't need a thing right now. I need a portal in here instead. Oh. Now I have complete utter access to this location at any old time I like, and I can leave from this point at any old time.
Product received.
Each of these is always going to change. It's never going to be the same way twice unless it's in the same spot twice. These terminals are unique. They always kind of have one of those scenarios going for them. Oh, we got a different kind of booster which we could use. Now, I can also use this portal to get us back to the space station. And that is mostly just how planetary, you know, search and seizure is, pretty much. That's most of the planetary stuff right then and there. Not much difficult about that. That was probably the easiest walker brain I have ever acquired. That also comes from a ginormous robot on planets where there is a shit ton of sentinels. Pardon my language, but those things are a pain in the crack to kill. Just being polite about it. It takes probably about maybe a good 20 minutes just to take down one. Especially now that they keep changing and updating them. There's like a dozen different things that you have to do to even hit one of them now. And by the time you actually hit one, they've already obliterated you with missiles, I want to say a machine gun, and practically just about everything that you know you're not going to be able to fight in the very beginning of the game. Which really begs the question, why did they bother changing it at all? Oh, it's back there. Brought me to the wrong station. As you can see, they can have up to 4 of those in one station at a time. Being that this is the only one in this station presently, I should have realized that it was going to put it there. Also, all of those that we just got should be tradable from the ones we found. They should also be tradable. Yeah, they are. And after such a long time, we finally got what we were looking for. So now I can take this one off and replace it with this one. And that's just so it is symmetrically balanced. And now it 100% floats and doesn't land, technically speaking. I still keep the other parts just in case I want to build a third one eventually. Oh yes, I was going to show you what the galaxies and traveling in space on this thing was like, more or less, when I don't have to sit in the cockpit the whole time. Alright. I almost forgot that part. So, I will just simply put it here on the pulse engine. Prove the point that now I can walk around the ship while it's in flight. I can access all these, more or less. Yep. See? All accessible. The cape on the character's kind of freaking out a little bit, but that's just because we're in motion at a high speed of velocity. Right now, it's kind of having its moment, though. That's why it's kind of not showing that I'm actually collecting it until I've actually collected, which is kind of strange. It's supposed to... You guys have seen it through the earlier areas. It's supposed to have that little icon saying what we're doing, where we're acting, what we're doing on. Whoa! Okay, well, that's not good. That's a first time for that one. We have a bit of a problem with that. So, on that note, I am going to switch over to the other alternative thing I was planning on doing. We're jumping to a different galaxy. There seems to be a lot of trouble with this one. Oh, right. Wow. This doesn't have an emerald drive in it. Okay. Yeah, alright. We got this. We got this. It also does not land on your freighter like the other ships, though. Yeah, it sits next to your freighter. I have not had it do that. Now, this is the ship I built from scratch. It's an S-class with a little bit of space to deal with things. And it does not have an emerald drive either. Okay. One of our ships does, I know that. This one. This one does. This one does. As you can see, emerald drives are an uncommon thing. Mostly because they are so hard to build in ships like this. Because they are so expensive. That's basically the traveling between planetary systems. Not galaxies. There's a big difference between the galaxy and these little systems. Each of these systems is in itself unique. Each one has a certain number of planets, a certain number of anomalies, or, you know, different types of things in the galaxy or the area itself, which seem to be unique. For example, if I had an anomalous detector, I would go through this galaxy and see what types of things I would find. And I would also try to find better, like, you know, different starship materials and so on. Some of those aren't bad, but not my kind of thing. Same thing, just different looking. Each planetary anomaly tends to make the place glow a little different color each time. Each master of the guild is a different guild usually. This is Merchant's Guild, which I'm already pretty well high up in. And because I'm so high up in the guild, I also get things for discounted. I'm just gonna turn those in. That upgrades my status with them. Not enough to bump me up here yet. Okay, which isn't terrible. It's a work in progress. Merchants Guild, I am an associate. I'd be needing 2 more standing. I'm a master in the Mercenaries Guild, a master in the Explorers Guild. Like I said, each guild is different, has a different type of dominant characteristic life forms to deal with. Interesting. This is the place you would get stuff for your like suit and things. Each type is better than the last. The S classes are the best usually. I don't need any because I already have the max I can use. And there's always places you can get extra units and things from. Talking to each of the individual race characters can give you several options as well. They help you with dialect. You can practice the dialect you know. You can offer that for better standing. Certain items for certain races. Each of those is also tracked in your milestones, as you've kind of probably guessed. For the GAC, I'm already the highest I can achieve standing-wise. I've already visited the highest amount I can for them to count anything, 102, it's always growing. Smuggle units or goods worth different units around. I'm still kind of learning the language for it. Then there's also a number of missions still to be done, but not a lot. Not a lot. Still learning the Vulcan language, doing missions, trying to reverse that a little bit, not too much. But yes, as you can see, for this I've also killed 2 walkers, which is very hard to do. Almost unheard of, practically. It's extremely difficult. Unless you have a high amount of technology or gun power, which most of mine do. In order to switch between them, I will switch to my favorite one that I use to kill them all the time. It's a very, very strong weapon. It may not look like much, but it has enough power and potential to destroy 2 Sentinel Walkers. And things, on their own, are terrible. That's a C class. That's an A class. That's usually how things go. It's usually like 2 different types of classes apart for each of the same ship. And these 2 ships are actually identical. You will have that more common in places like this than you will anywhere else. Always. Sometimes if an identical ship doesn't come in at the same time as its counterpart, it usually comes in right after. That's a hauler class, that's an explorer class, that's an explorer class, and so is that one. These are just some of the many ways that things have gone on. Oh, let's see, what else is there? Oh yes, where and how to get some extra resources. So most of the stuff you're required to use to recharge your ship systems and everything, you can get right out of the meteorites like this. And it's also where you can get the resources to fix most of your freighter troubles as well. The ones that you use for to send through your freighter to expeditions and things. For example, oh, where'd all the meteors go? I didn't just destroy all of them. That was weird. Anywho, as I was saying, this is where you can get, there's an anomalous detector right there. You get those also from these meteors. It helps from time to time finding certain items and things. And if you scan them like that, sometimes it'll reveal a platinum type or a really rich resourced asteroid at times. You might get certain items from it, you might not get certain items from it. And all sorts of freighters and things will jump in and out around you, as you can kind of see. And it's usually from these like clusters and things, you'll be able to find different recruitables from time to time. I'm already at the max for the recruitables last I checked, so I probably won't find any. It's very rare that I ever will, and when I do, chances are I probably won't be able to afford recruiting them at the time, or I end up blowing them up during my fight trying to steal all the extra goodies like this one has. Because 9 out of 10 times, they come unprotected now. Just because I don't need any recruitable frigates. Eesh. This stuff is not worth stealing or attacking them for. That one might be, though. It's probably the only one worth taking, and it's not enough to really want me to attack it, so I'm good without it. Now I will show you what this anomalous detector is supposed to do. You activate it, then you use your pulse engine, and it basically scans the areas you're going through for any anomalies or anything that could show up potentially. And as soon as it does, it'll send something like this up. I still am not certain about this one. Yes, it's very hard to do anything with it. Actually, I don't see a whole hell of a lot of reason to sit here and try to figure this one out. Actually, I kind of do. Alright, well, hang on a sec. Just a second, I'm gonna try to look this up and see, because I've run into this a couple of times, but I've never figured out exactly what it is. I am definitely not trusting that. That's kind of foolish. Okay, so apparently it has absolutely no function at all. Let's see what else I can find on it. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing that it does. It's just a piece of floating wreck material, apparently. People say ram it, people say shoot it, people say scan it. It doesn't really have any use at all. What else it does? This is also just a photo mode thing. That did nothing. That's just one of the many ways you have to learn how, or use to figure what you want to call it out there. But yeah, that's just one of the many things you can use them for. You might find other things, you might find all sorts of other stuff too. It's just some of the many things you can do whilst riding around in space. And yes, no matter how many times you use them, you will always find something unique each time. There's more than one type of anomaly. Derelict freighters are an anomaly. Those you can specifically seek out. There's different types of void troubles that are, you just shoot them and they become like equipment for your living ship. Practically, you can run into the chance of finding a living freighter module or frigate, which I have a couple of, or yeah, I think I have one still. But yeah, it's strange scenarios all the time. They really shouldn't try it, because they're not going to get anywhere. You are better off staying the hell away from me. Bye. See, these pirates will attack you at any old time, too. Adios. And it's common for them to do this too, especially when you're already a member of an outlaw station. No matter how much you do it, they will always attack you. It doesn't matter how many times. Pirates are notorious for that. They will always turn on each other. They should have stayed gone. And yes, I do just plan to sit here for a minute or two whilst trying to sweep up this stuff. If I can't get another couple anomalous detectors or so. Usually you can find like a bunch of them in a cluster of meteors like this. They're almost always like 2, maybe 3 in the cluster at a time. Oh, asteroids, I should say. Yes, there's also forward and back motion where you can move the ship forward and back. As an FYI, I was just trying to show that too. It's slower to try and back up. It's faster to move forward. Some ships are easier moving backward, some ships are easier going forward, and some ships just do both. You can also change what your ship focuses on, like for example power for weapons, or you can have it for engines, or you can have it switch to the shields, or a balanced setting, which is where they all kind of operate together, which is what I usually keep it on. Just as an FYI. Did we actually get any? No, but we're actually getting quite a lot of those doodles. Sure. Those crystals. Which isn't all that uncommon. All of this is helpful material for later. Now I should probably go over the galaxy maps and such in more detail. Alright, so, on that note, that is exactly what I will do. So, all of these are in one galaxy. That glowing ball in the center is the galaxy core. That, in and of itself, is the only way to get to another galaxy, is to jump straight through that core. No matter how hard anyone else tries to say otherwise, that is the only way. Right now, I am in the 13th galaxy, which, although technically I'm actually in the first galaxy, you can always jump in between the galaxies regardless. The ones you've been to, they are the ones you can always go to. Most of my stuff was set up in the first galaxy, but I have other stuff which is in the 13th. Most of my present stuff, like my freighter and my first settlement, is in the Euclid galaxy, which is the one you start in. However, it is not my only galaxy that I've gone to. I have gone to all the original 12, and I also have, and I'm about to jump back to the 13th one, because I do think that there is, what you want to call it? There is, what you want to call it, something I have to do there for one of my settlements right now. I'm pretty sure I just got that notification like 10 minutes ago. So I'm just gonna go double check, make sure. I mean, after all, just hang on a minute. So, I've been to just about a dozen different galaxies. There's the Euclid one, let's scroll down. Most of my stuff was going through different ones. Euclid, let's see. There they are. There's the Emstein galaxy, the Elidison, then there's more of those. Hang on a minute. I'll get to one of those that are in the later ones. Estream, Killigore, Boldagar, Hades, Hilbert, Calypso. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one. That's just to name a few of the places, the ones. And that's not even out of all of my travels with this character. It's just the one that I've seen the most. There it is. That is the Antagropic galaxy, I think. I know I probably butchered that. Then there's the Eclipsos. And then there is a few others. I very rarely actually stayed in the ones in between all that much, because it kept jumping me every so often. However, I have been to all of the original 12. Just as an option of showing you. There's just so many, and it's hard to keep up on them sometimes. And that's just 13 out of 309, supposedly. The portals are probably the easiest way to travel around all day long. Almost without effort, even. However, if you're playing with friends and one friend doesn't jump through as many or finishes the main story, and you have connection problems all the time, be advised. That's why it's always best to make sure your progress and your friend's progress is relatively similar, at least until they start fixing that, where the connectivity problems are not as an issue as they used to be. And that tends to happen all too often when they update and change things. It makes it so much harder to actually connect to the friends you're trying to play with. Me and my one friend who I've been talking to for a while have been practically, well, let's just say it this way. It's practically been, what you want to call it, 1 in 5 chances that we actually get to play together in a group for more than like 5 minutes. It's extremely rare until they fix those issues. These always have to be maintained. They don't last as long as some of these items are. And that's just mainly all. That's a lot of, like, the basics, to be honest. And actually, some of this that I've shown you, like the changing earlier and the changing of the base buildings here, that's actually advanced style of stuff. There is a way to just leave it all as a C class and build your, you know, production up. But it's so much more difficult to do that. It's just so easy, much easier to just keep upgrading things for these. Just as a recap on that. And as I said, you can have up to 4 of these buildings. Or not buildings, these settlements. I have 3. I can get my 4th one at any old time I choose, but I'd rather just leave that last one open, personally, until all the rest of my bases have no debts left. Just because it's less to think about. I can then just focus on the one that has all the debts when I go and get the 4th one. Most of this stuff is just simple upkeep for these. It's deciding whether they get a certain number of things, whether the funding is important, whether it's not important. That last one was just a simple naming of a new population addition, a new individual in the group, so yeah, it's not a big deal. Sometimes you'll get questions like that. Sometimes, depending on where the settlement is, you'll get attacked by certain creatures or things. You'll get entities wanting to travel to monoliths. There's really no telling what it is. Personally, I think it would have been better had I just started out fresh and been able to get 4 different settlements and work them from ground zero, to be honest myself. But all this is done over a long period of gameplay. Droplets. I donate it to the settlement so that goes down. Even though it's already dropping pretty well. Each circumstance is a unique one. Every time you upgrade something, though, there's possibly always going to be the chance that the sentinels are going to attack. Interesting. See? It just moved. It was acting up. And every time the screen shakes right now, that is the cause of it. And that's mainly all it is for the upkeeps on these things, is you supply a small amount of resources, it'll slowly upgrade. The one that costs the most usually is the S-Class, and when you're just building something for the first time. Those tend to be where it's really expensive off the gate. Almost always that's how it goes, just the way it is. First and the last. Almost always the most expensive. But the more you upgrade it, the better you will be. That's one of our bases up there. That's one of our bases over there. I should have a third one somewhere nearby as well, just for the sake of having all three of the different items. That one over there is electricity. Then there's one that's also gas somewhere. The gas one is behind us somewhere then. Yeah, it's just some of the things it'll find. There's also, when you get the Analyst Visor, it gives you the chance to find your current goal or your target, depending on what it is. Sometimes it'll say location service unavailable. That's because we don't have a goal that requires a target. I've learned this over time. Some tend to have where it will tell you where to go, but not always will it. Just as a few other additives to the factors of it all, you know. And usually by the time you finish one request, another base will, or another settlement will have a request for you, and you can jump between them all, keep upgrading them as you go along, kind of deal. Because eventually when that debt clears, they actually start building you items that you can use to get better and bigger things. Sometimes the items they give you aren't that great. Sometimes they're really good. For example, this is like the third time I've had to re-fix their debt problems because apparently whatever happened in the previous updates reset the debts or whatever. I'm not exactly sure. But ultimately, once their debt is cleared, they begin to build you items. And I just hope that eventually I'll be able to show you that. Maybe. We'll see though. Yes, we will commission the artwork. Just because it tends to help the settlement's happiness. Wow, that is like a dead standstill too. Until I reopen the building here that's gotta be reopened. That is a dead standstill though for the debt. Within like 100 units of the maintenance cost of the standard thing. This is gonna shift it in our favor though. That's now an A-class water tower. That just bumped it over that cap. There it goes down again. Some of these things are really expensive to fix up though, so sometimes it's just better not to. Until you have like a surplus of items. I think this is our A-class, or is this more? This is our A-class. Teleport coordinators, holy crap, that's an expensive one. It's more expensive than the first S-class I ever built. And like I said, each one of these has a different items available to buy and sell. It's really neat. Sometimes there'll be a merchant there, sometimes there's a merchant here. This is the envoy merchant though for like the guilds and such. They tend to travel around from place to place. Superconducting fiber is pretty expensive. Star Silk is expensive. I don't imagine this is going to be too expensive to upgrade. This is our in-house fishing pond. Yeah. That's not that bad, but we don't have that item right now. Let alone, nor do I remember where to get it from off the top of my head. That's pretty affordable though. Almost always there's something that you can upgrade until there's nothing left to upgrade. Yes. Nitrogen is actually the lowest point on this here totem pole too. We have gotten a little bit of everything. Radon, nitrogen, and then the sulfurum. The only, like I said, the only thing I haven't tried to do anything with was the methane. And that's because it takes nitrogen and salt to make it. And I'm just like, yeah, no thanks, I'm good. I don't need to do that. What the heck is this? Oh. Okay then. Well. Settlements. This one is over in another galaxy, which is the galaxy I want to go to. I mean, ultimately, other than the multiplayer functionality, is the only thing I have left to really show you, and that's even pushing it a little far. I mean, I'm gonna attempt to do so if I can, but I don't believe it'll do much good. There's no expedition right now, so I can't show you how it works. There's no real way of testing and showing you the multiplayer without it crashing. Potentially more so than the normal. And I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's pretty much right where it's at. This is actually the farthest point. I could try to show you the deep sea stuff, which is really, really kind of intriguing, but I'd have to really try hard to find the right place for that. And without having pre-selected a spot for something like that, it's kind of like a 1 in 10 chance we get a spot like that, if you get my drift. It's like saying, okay, here's a needle, throw it into the haystack and go find it yourself. Kind of deal. And it's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. But with that said, I mean, there are so many types of different ships you can find. Most of my ships are from my expedition travels. I have the Wraith, I have the Corvettes that I built, I got 2 of them. Sentinel ships, I have 3 of them now. I have what's called their Star Wars ship, which is just a complete, almost round, off-centered type of Star Wars vessel. I have 2 of these S-Class ships around here. More Sentinel ships. My S-Class ship here. There's the other one. And I have multiple Wraiths at one time. There's so many different choices though. For example, this Sentinel is the Sentinel Fighter class. This is the Sentinel Hauler class. I don't think I have the other ones. This is a fighter class. This is your, technically it's a fighter class, but it's an exotic type one. It's considered exotic. It's not considered any of the others. This Wraith is the fighter class for the living ships. And this one is the same thing. I have 2 of them just for the sake of running into a better one. I might swap it out because I already have one, kind of deal. But yeah, there's so many things you can do, so many things you can build. These are just limited based on where I am right now. That's a base. That's my base. And it's, again, all for the sake of having the different types of items. That first one is a mineral base. That second one is the electricity base. The one behind it. But yeah, that's it, really. Not much else to show. I mean, technically I could show you a bit of everything on here, but, I mean, I guess I could kind of show you what it's like when you discover one of these items again. You just follow the shrinking number and where it indicates you to go. As you can see, now it says to turn right. And you go straight. Every time you get on, you'll have to do this anyway. Always. It never changes. It's always going to be that way. Yes, the pipelines will fill up for each and every last one of these. You cannot hook them together, no matter how hard you try. You will never get them to work that way. You will always have to put them into their own individual storage unit, and you will always have to put it so that they are almost always on their own. You cannot hook them to each other. I've tried many a times. It messes the whole system up. These are generating small amounts of additional power. That's just to keep the system from overrunning itself. This battery is connected all the way over to my electrical output base over yonder. Yes, I tend to do that too. I tend to stretch all of my resources. Couldn't be hurtful to get all this extra dihydrogen. This is one of the major types of resources you will come across in the game. The hydrogen, sodium, condensed carbon, or carbon, oxygen, and any type of, what you want to call it, like mineral, metal, etc. I forget what kind of location this is, what kind of resource. Phosphorus. So yes, sometimes you will run into resources like this, and you will have to use this terrain manipulator tool to harvest them. I'm not, because I have no need for this kind of material, because I have so much coming in already. It's just the same thing I just picked up from my extractors over yonder behind us. That's sodium. That's oxygen. That is condensed carbon crystals. That is these. Sometimes you will get lucky enough to where the materials you come across aren't extremely out of the ordinary. That there is the same plants that we picked up on our starship. That is, let me see if I got any still. Does not look like I have any of them with me. But each planet has a different type of plant that's growth. There they are, these. That is those. Those are just in their natural habitat, so they grow taller, bigger. Ice planets get frost crystals. Flame planets can have those. Irradiated planets can have... Where is it? Where is it radiated? I know I have it. Right here. The Your uranium planets get these two items. The irradiated ones. They usually have a toxic atmosphere, as well as these. It's hit or miss usually. See, every time. It doesn't matter if you've previously examined it, it's always going to be there. You always have to double check, double do it again and again and again. I mean, technically you don't have to per se, it's just better you do so that your stuff doesn't stop running randomly on you and glitch out. Because occasionally it has for me. And this is just some of the many things. I haven't even begun to confirm and show you all of the other stuff that there is. And honestly, I think I would rather leave you all there to discover it for yourselves, because it's much more fun that way. Oh, we haven't even begun to discuss what we could just do with that. So that crystal we just examined to get this storm crystal, that's one of a dozen items you can do that with. And it's one of a dozen items you can get from it. It's very rare to get a storm crystal because that's one of the most expensive items that you can get from those. Those crystals can give you any sort of crystalline material though. The storm crystals are very valuable because they are used in a number of different things. They are used to build certain objects. They are used as intergalactic trade materials, which are very expensive. For 4 of them, I could sell them at that terminal right there in the corner for like 4 million units for just the 4. And I have way more than that just sitting in my freighter. And that's why I'm just saying so many things. Hell, let me even just show you exactly how much one of those is worth. Oh, well first, this is undermining it. But that alone is just one of them. For 4 of them, in my freighter, I literally sold them for, what? Gotta say, 4.5 million? And there's some more smuggled goods. These, as you can see, all 12 of them are really worthwhile to sell. Certain things are worth more than others. If I had a Sentinel planet, or a planet where the Sentinels are very aggressive on, I would show you why these are so valuable. As soon as you pick one of them up on any planet, you are already basically got the Sentinels on you, especially if you didn't grow it. But ours, you can grow. This is just one of many items that is worth so much. And just some of the many things you can do. Oh, yes, it's out of range, right, so it won't give me any of the good stuff. Oh well. And yeah, these are all just decorative pieces you can use to decorate your base with, and for now at least. These are usable materials, as you probably guessed. Those are the storage unit options. And this is just the basic stuff. This is probably what you'll end up starting with for building your bases. I just took the luxury of skipping this phase and grabbing as many of the things I needed to get to this phase. The pre-built large structure stuff, which is what we're currently standing in. But as you can see, each of these items is a little more expensive to use and build, material-wise, but ultimately, at the end of the day, each person has the ability to build whatever the hell they feel like, whenever, wherever, so long as it's not in someone else's base, or in the way of any sort of like real buildings, like the settlements or the trade facilities. And I could go on for hours just telling you what's in here. But at the end of the day, I really hope you enjoyed and you take a look and you try to figure out everything as much as I have here in No Man's Sky. And if possible, maybe you'll run into one another one of these days. Honestly, the PvP part of it is ridiculous. Just be advised, when you do a community expedition, it's better to have 2 people within the group at a time, because people are less likely to mess with you. When it comes to the expeditions, some are more fun to do on your own, but then there's also the better chances that you'll get messed with. What the hell? What on this earth? Pardon my French, but no, that's not Earth, I mean. This might be part of that update. Yeah, it certainly seems to be. This might be part of that Halloween thing that they've been doing. It would not surprise me at all. So apparently they added an update where right now, until I think the end of October, everything tends to try and attack the player more than normal. It's just mostly for their Halloween spoofs of things. There's supposed to be like little Halloween things you can find everywhere. There's supposed to be the creatures attack every player, and it's just all sorts of things. It's rather weird, but it's in a way kind of adorable. But yeah, this is the galaxy map. Each and every little star is visitable. It would take someone forever and a day to visit a whole galaxy at once. But, you know, everybody has their thing. And like I said, each galaxy has its own opportunities. And it's always good to jump in between, back and forth between the galaxies, because you can always get the best deals and chances of getting everything you're looking for in between. For example, one of my many galaxy jumps got me one of those 2 S-class exotic starships, the round ball ones, but it took me like an hour or 2 just to sit in one galaxy station for a long time. And it took forever and a day. Just one of many reasons why it's just best to see what you come up with. Like I said, I think that's where I can have to kind of call it quits for the day. And you'll never know exactly what you'll come up with. But hopefully you've enjoyed this quick and tutorial-based interaction with No Man's Sky. And like I said, I look forward to seeing if anyone who's watching might be able to run into one another eventually. Because it's always fun to meet someone who's watched or is playing the video game who likes to have a good old time. And I'm gonna say, in front of this Gek, I think it's about time we call it a day. Thank you all for watching.